Hey, everybody, welcome to Act 3. It is a happy Monday, and always glad that you tune in to CHLY 101.7 FM. And of course, if you're watching us by YouTube, thank you as well for watching us on our station. Listen, today we've got quite a bunch of things to unpack. In the Zoom booth with me, I have Tina Hein. She is with ABCB First Aid First Responders. I know that there's a little bit more we can unpack about that. And then I have Eike Jordan, great name, hey? She's with Naturally Healthy Clinic. Today, we've got some stuff to talk about. Hi, you guys. Welcome to the program.
Hi,
Super glad you're here.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Listen, for our listeners, is there a chance you guys can take turns unpacking exactly what it is you both do? Tina, would you mind getting started with the ABCB First Aid and First Responders and how that connects as well to Naturally Healthy Clinic?
Yeah, well, we actually have a couple of things going on. Myself and my husband, mostly my husband, of course, runs ABCB First Aid Training and Safety, and his role is we teach people how to save each other's lives. And so it's very, very important for us to reach as many people as possible. But ABCB together is helping me with a passion project of mine, which is creating something called LIVE. It's just a gathering place for people to come together and be able to share what they know, share their knowledge, talk to each other, and share things like farming tips and food practices and food providers and all those people, artists, authors, everyone coming together. So we decided to, in our building right downtown, on 324 Terminal, I'm calling it LIVE at 324. We are building just an opportunity for people to come together and share things. So we're having our first, hopefully, well, not definitely for our first, but having our LIVE at 324 Christmas gathering on December 10th. And so we're trying to bring lots of people together. We have a huge array of people. We have 2 seminar spaces. We have a market as well. So we have makers and artists and creators, healthcare providers and practitioners. We have 3 floors. So we're going to be filling that space with an extraordinary amount of people. Yeah.
That's that's a lot of floors for, to be able to share that kind of knowledge. So is it sort of like a trade show kind of an idea then?
No, maybe, but more than anything, it's just a gathering of people coming together. So networking, purchasing from each other, just like a market, almost like a flea market, kind of as well, but just bringing people together naturally, and then having opportunities to share information.
Well, I know that, especially in this community, one thing that Nanaimo and Vancouver Island as a whole is very good at, and to our listeners on the Sunshine Coast, I know that you're like this too. It's kind of that island vibe that we have where when we have a piece of information, we want to share. So, I'm looking forward to unpacking that a little bit further, Tina, for sure. Eike, tell us a little bit about Naturally Healthy Clinic and how did you two get involved with this fabulous project?
We got involved because we are totally passionate about health and well-being, and that's how we connected. And certainly for me as a medical professional, I take always my medical first aid, CPRC, and all these courses, and I would strongly recommend everybody to go even beyond that and take an EMR course, because these days it is just so valuable to know what you can do for your own well-being and in the cases of emergencies. So, and here at the clinic, we are a team of medical professionals, therapeutic professionals, people that are just very compassionate as well. And we include everything from the foot nurse to the traditional Chinese medicine practitioners, and we have as well on call a traditional Chinese medicine doctor. We practice homeopathy, dark field blood microscopy. We have an orthopedic shoemaker on call. We have people that are really knowledgeable about, body strength and structure. For example, they may have studied somewhere else osteopathy or massage therapy or physiotherapy or things like that. So it's really vast what we have all here. We have a Canadian acupuncturist as well. And the beauty of it is we are all in our hearts artists. So, for example, our TCM, he always makes Chinese pictures or arts where he uses Chinese writing and he teaches it in workshops as well.
Wow.
And our Waverly, she for example, is really big in fermentation and canning. She was a chef, and she has so many great workshops and things to share. Even just the kombucha making is so much fun with her. I just love it. And so at the ABCB, there is so much space. Here at the clinic, we certainly have very private rooms that are not conducive for larger gatherings, but the workshops that we can host at ABCB is just phenomenal. It's so beautiful. And I'm super excited that, for example, as well, my partner Detlef will be there, and that he will give some hypnosis performances. And you can pick and choose whether you want to have a therapeutic or a stage hypnosis. And he's as well the president of the Canadian Hypnosis Association. So there is lots to come and so much fun.
Yay.
Well, it
Yay.
sounds like something we haven't seen in our town in a really long time, right? I love I mean, don't get me wrong, we do have health fairs of sorts on a regular basis. I know my colleague Teresa Osman has the Wellness Minute, and she also has Wellness News. And so she's very much a part of putting things together on a community. But with COVID and all of the things that have happened and the emergencies we've experienced over the last few years, and recently in the last few weeks, it's harder for people to come together. So the idea that there's going to be this great event on December the 10th is going to allow people to actually explore some of those things even further. A couple of things that you said really struck with me. And one of them is that you working from the medical professional side, both of you, but you both also love the art side of it. And it's my understanding that in medicine, that art therapy is one of the key elements for growth and for success and for our well-being. Can you speak a little bit to what brought you those two pieces together, and in particular for December the 10th?
Oh, I'd love to speak on that. We actually have a couple of authors that are coming to speak on and how they use storytelling to be able to help children through trauma and things like that. Obviously, art therapy and calligraphy and things like that are very, very important. But for maybe the word is holistic that we're looking for. We're looking for a holistic approach to humanity, to being human. And it isn't just medicalizing everything. It is your food. It is the mental space around you. It is self-care practices. It is art and being out in nature, farming, creating your own food. Really, we have a big emphasis on farming. We're going to have people selling seeds and their wares and so on there as well. So we really are very excited about bringing this giant group of people together. And again, it's pretty informal. It's a pretty informal group, but you have to have a little bit of organization with such a large group of people. But we're really excited to bring it all together. And art and creativity is very important to mental health. Very important to mental health. It is crucial.
And we know that a couple of major things have been happening, not just in our community, but in probably every community in British Columbia. The amount of mental health and addiction that we are starting to see is elevating what seems to be day by day. People are desperate for support and for help. Our mental health facilities are minimal at best. And so we also have to look at the emergency piece of it, how many people are having to use I'm not sure I'm saying the word right. Is it Narcan?
Narcan.
Narcan, right?
Yeah, and naloxone.
And I understand, and maybe I'm misunderstanding this, but I understand your husband is going to be doing a demonstration on that. Is that correct?
My husband's actually away in a remote community teaching First Nations first aid skills and things like that. So he's away, but we do have incredible people. We have a wonderful young woman who it's her passion to teach naloxone to lots of people. So we'll be doing some naloxone training on that event. And she's also she's one of our extraordinary instructors. Her name is Jen Chadwick, and she's going to be demonstrating some just basic first aid skills, because there are so many people who don't understand basic first aid. As soon as anyone comes, as soon as people come through a first aid training of any kind, survivability of anyone that they come into rises up by 35%. So if we can get people in learning these skills, or just even having a touch of it, we'll have people being able to practice on CPR dolls in one of the seminars. So it's going to be great. And to be able to understand what to look for if you happen to be right down in our downtown and you see someone who is maybe blue in the face and needs some help, we want people to be able to have the skills to be able to help people in need, as well as as helping their friends. We know, like we said, there's a mental health crisis and people are medicating a lot. And sometimes it can be dangerous. And so if we can just help to spread that information and help people help each other and help themselves, that's what our goal is here. And we offer that training as part of our courses and so on. But we had an addiction awareness weekend where we gave away free naloxone training all day long. So it's just important to us at this time. Addiction and death by addiction has skyrocketed in these last few years. It's really extremely tragic.
But what we are also seeing on the up note of that, not so much in this, I mean, there is no up note to the death of people that, you know, that die by addiction. But the up note as far as our self-care perspective and the way that we're reviewing our physical health as well as our mental health and well-being. I don't know about you guys, but I'm sure you're the professionals. I am certainly not. But what I've noticed, even just among my friends, is that a lot of people are really looking for alternative ways to their health. They're not totally relying on the doctors we don't unfortunately have in our community. There's a limited amount of doctors that are available as we need them. And so people are being a little bit more proactive, I'm noticing, in looking at alternative methods, including things like, you know, acupuncture and hypnotism and all of that. I wonder, Eike, what are you seeing in your practice every day regarding, you know, people's curiosity?
Yeah, I find it very rewarding actually these days that people are thinking more in depth and not just wanting like the superficial quick fix, that they're willing to take the walk into pure health and well-being and viewing how to do that. And it's actually very simple. It's not as complicated as people think. And it can be so much fun. And with our incredible team that we have here and all the technology that we have on hand, we can move mountains.
Yes, for sure. Is there one service more popular in your clinic than others?
Yes, at this moment, it is most definitely the live blood analysis, the dark field microscopy. And that's very strongly consulted, as well as what we call 3D healing, which is trademarked. And 3D healing is based on the light state of trance hypnotherapy, where trauma and emotional distress and all that gets resolved.
Which is arguably the muscle remembers. Right, the muscles remember.
Not just a muscle. It's we have a big workshop that is 4 hours long where we present that actually our blood carries our soul. You can see in the blood if there was any abuse, if there was a miscarriage, if you can see everything.
Wow!
If you lost a loved one, everything is visible.
Wow, that's incredible. To be honest with you, I've never heard of that. I really haven't. I've heard of, I don't give, and I'm pretty good on the, you know, that self-care piece. I do believe in all of those different modalities, and I work, you know, with keeping my body. For our listeners know that I have been unwell for a number of years. I have a long-term challenge in my body called ulcerative colitis that goes in and out of remission. And so people are, you know, they hear me sometimes or see me when I'm in the middle of a crisis, where I'm experiencing the not so comfortable parts of UC. And so in part of my healing process, I've really learned not only to rely on medical professionals, but also to rely on homeopathic supports in community. And so, you know, things like meditation, things like really taking good care with art therapy, things like, you know, giving yourself permission to have a timeout and do some therapy and counseling. Those kinds of things do actually help the overall well-being, because we're more than just our physical skin, aren't we?
Yeah. And like you mentioned, like if we experience a trauma, if we don't release it effectively, it stays there and it creates dis-ease, right? Like it is something we need to, and again, it goes back to, you know, we have so many folks who are really struggling with their mental health, and maybe some of the issues might be obvious trauma, very physical, like for instance, veterans and so on who have been serving countries and things like that.
PTSD is very, very difficult.
Absolutely. But there's also complex PTSD and things like that, where we have very subtle things that happen that, you know, person came from a good family, so to speak, but perhaps certain needs, basic needs weren't met, and all with good intention, of course. But if we can uncover this pain, then maybe we can stop self-harming.
Very true. Even just for the quality of life, if they're not able to move past certain things, they can perhaps refile those in their wavelength, in their patterns, so that they can work with it and rather than working against it. So,
Yeah, so
certainly that's
awareness is
important.
key. Yeah.
Awareness is very much okay. So this event that you're having on December the 10th, the concept behind it is to bring these professionals together for that educational process, that curiosity, right? And so of all of the people that are coming, you mentioned some stuff about, working with the farm, working with seeds, working with kombucha, working with all of those things. I have to tell you, I love kombucha. I was making kombucha for many, many years. My mother has just died because I decided to let it go for a while because I had so much of it. But kombucha is a wonderful healer and it's very, very delicious. So is the person going to talk about how to make it? Or are they going to do a demonstration on kombucha as well?
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So tell us about some of the pieces. What can people expect when they come to the event?
Well, we have the building laid out, and it's an old building in the downtown. So we actually have some mobility issues for some people. It's three flights of stairs and so on. So
Yeah.
we're going to do our best to make sure everyone can get into the space effectively.
Yeah.
But on the first floor, wonderful, right down on Terminal Avenue, is our plan is to have, this is where we're going to have an art gallery, a book place, but also our wonderful practitioners are going to have practitioner space. So we're going to have people in there offering services, maybe little quick sessions, little information sessions so people can ask questions. On the second floor, two of our ABCB classrooms, we're going to be having, we have seminars all day from 10 until 6. And we have, in that we have readings, authors are going to be reading. There's going to be also people doing some yoga. We're going to open it up with dance, hopefully have maybe some ecstatic dance and just change the energy.
Oh, fun.
Up and again, like I mentioned earlier, we're going to have first aid demonstrations and some naloxone training and so on as well. But there's so much. I couldn't even begin to tell you all the things. The schedule is big and I can't wait to share it with you so that we can show people how fantastic this is going to be. We're very excited. And we're going to make sure that the weather is great. I have that kind of power.
You go, girl. We'll all
right.
take that good weather piece for sure.
Yeah, December 10th
by all
great.
means, if people have just tuned in, I should sort of let people know where we're at here because it's a great time to get a piece of paper and a pen to sort of talk about, and take down some of the details regarding this fabulous event on December the 10th. If you have just tuned in, I'm Kathy Holmes. You are listening to Act 3 on CHLY 101.7 FM. I do want to remind you all, 'tis the season for giving, and not only giving to all of the major charities within our community. We know you have your favorites, and we certainly encourage you to give with your heart, your open minds, and support, whether it's through volunteering with any of the associations or whether or not it's giving in your dollars, your time. All of it matters. So please consider helping the community out during this holiday season, specifically the Salvation Army. Of course, they always need your help. They're one of my favorite charities on the whole planet. There's also the United Way. By all means, there's some food share stuff going on coming up in the next couple of weeks. So make sure that you're helping with those hampers. We always need volunteers for that. In addition to that, I would invite you as well to make it a mission as one of your, New Year's resolutions to consider contributing to CHLY 101.7 FM. We are on the radio today simply because you have donated $2, $3, $5, $10, whatever amount that you have. Consider doing a commitment every single month. $5 will make the difference. And while I enjoy that you listen to my show, I also know that there's a whole lot more talent on CHLY. So make sure you check out our schedule. All you have to do is go to www.chly101.7 FM. And there's a whole donate button right there. So please consider giving. Again, in the booth with me, in the Zoom booth, as you know, I'm still, doing this from my home. Please, I welcome you to my home in this regard. Tina Hein is with ABCB First Aid, and her colleague Eike Jordan is with Naturally Healthy Clinic. And we are today talking about a marvelous event coming up on December the 10th. So make sure you go grab your piece of paper and your pen so you can find out more details about that. In coming back to the conversation, Tina and Eike, I'm really excited that you guys are doing this, because I know that New Year's resolutions often come up where people want to make change in their system, right? Very often they don't necessarily last for a long time, but the important part is at least they're making the effort to learn something new and to try something. And having this event on the 10th is going to really allow a lot of people to actually take their health in their hands and take a good look and see whether or not there's something for them that they might want to pursue in the new year as well. I'm curious though, I understand that you also have a charity of sorts that you're working with, or a naturally healthy foundation or something. Is that correct? Is that right?
That's correct. Yes.
Let's talk a little about the foundation and what your plans are with that.
Our Naturally Healthy Foundation is a nonprofit, member-owned and operated foundation, and it is a platform for people to exchange their knowledge, where we certainly promote the well-being, whichever way we envision our well-being. That's everybody's individual decision. So my vision is that I love to have people around me that are happy, that are singing, that are, dancing. So that's my vision of well-being and happiness. However, if somebody says, I need a Porsche, that's cool too.
Absolutely. In all fairness, it takes a lot of things to make people tick in this life. So that for sure, whatever it is, especially if you're being kind to each other, it's a direct process of it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so our aim is not to accumulate money, but to accumulate valuable people that have a big heart and are compassionate and passionate about health and well-being and sharing their knowledge. And it could be somebody sharing their knowledge about how to install a window, how to repair your socks.
Yeah. How to make a gingerbread house at this time of year, right?
Yeah, but there's so much knowledge out there that kind of is forgotten about. And what we are as well aiming for is to contribute in sharing information. So it's not that there are any big workshops around that, but helpful links. So for example, before we just went here into our recording with Vaccine Choice Canada doing a presentation. And I work with Canada Health Alliance, and we are now facing Bill 36 that everybody likely has somewhat heard about, but I think the majority of people has not done the diligence to really read in depth into it. And when you read in depth into it, it is quite intense. And this masterpiece...
Would you mind, just for the sake of our listeners and for me, I have not actually heard of that bill, so I'll be transparent about that. If I haven't, I'll bet you lots of people haven't. Would you mind just sharing us what Bill 36 is?
It is to regulate and control officially the health system. However, it goes beyond that. So in Bill 36, it is named that not just the colleges and the registered professions will be regulated no longer by their own board of directors, but they will be regulated by the minister, and the minister makes all decisions. And now they include as well everyone, whether there are not regulated therapists, spiritual healers, whether they may grow food, all the public, everybody is involved. It includes spiritual practice, indigenous practice, so First Nations are as well involved. And the narrative is written in the very bottom of it, and it's a really long pamphlet of papers, that it is built to make sure that everybody follows the health narrative that is given, even if it means that somebody that has a needle phobia has to settle in and follow whatever the directive is and take medicines.
So if I understand you correctly, then our physical choices for having whatever naturopathic services that make sense to us will be lost by that.
Completely.
Is that correct?
And even if somebody would talk about, say, some herbs that have helped, say, I would tell you, you know what, drink some dandelion tea.
Yeah.
That would already be something that would be against that law. And if you call yourself originally, say somebody is a registered nurse and says, I'm no longer a nurse, I'm doing something completely different, but shares still what you're doing, you get tracked and traced and you get eliminated. And if you are not committing to taking the vaccines as required, you get eliminated. And it goes to a degree when you really read all the fine print that, again, the minister is the only person that makes those decisions. Nobody else makes the decision. So say the minister is driving down the street and there's a child playing with a ball and laughing. And he says, you know, that is a health risk. That child can be taken. And if the child is not vaccinated, it can get either vaccinated to whichever degree, or it is as well said that it is to the leisure of the people that refuse the vaccines that they can choose a euthanization. That's cool.
Wow. So it sounds like the regulations are going to be sharply increased, and that common practices that at one time did not require the accreditation as you do in medical professions, that those choices will not be in existence for everyday
everybody.
people.
The shaman, the card reading lady, everybody is affected.
Interesting.
Yes.
So is part of your role then in the work that you do about advocacy? And if so, how do people get involved to support you?
So what I recommend is to get in touch with our foundation, and you can get in touch with it either with an email, info@naturallyhealthyfoundation.ca, or look up the website, www.naturallyhealthyfoundation.ca, or get in touch with our clinic, again, www.naturallyhealthyclinic.ca.
See, I told people to get a piece of paper and a pen for a reason. www.naturallyhealthyfoundation.ca is an important address for us today.
And so what we stand for is to get rid of division. We want to reunite all of us. And there is zero question about the genders, the colors, the vax or not. It doesn't matter. We need to all be connected at heart. That is what matters. So that's what I stand for.
So is part of this conversation going to appear at that event on the 10th of December by chance? Like, will you have some of, because what I anticipate hearing from community, again, I'm not a professional in the health field. That's not where where my expertise is, but I know for certain that there's a lot of people within community that are struggling with physical challenges and they require additional supports and attention. And and the idea that that this bill would prevent a person like myself from making those choices with my condition would piss me off, to tell you the truth. It would make me pretty darn angry. So I always believe that if you're angry about something, put it to good use and use it for the good. How long has this bill been in the process of creation, and can people write to the minister to get some thoughts heard?
The bill has been started already in 2019. However, it is that comprehensive that we are very sure that it has been created by AI or with the help of AI, because a human being, even if you had 1,000 human beings that work at it, it would be impossible to be that comprehensive.
Sure.
So yes, we will elaborate about it in depth and bring as well all the sections of the bill as slides to show and prove what we're saying.
Of course.
And it is something, again, very disturbing. However, in Vaccine Choice Canada today, there were as well some people that have already looked into if there is anything that we can do against it, and there is absolutely nothing at this point. There are many, many groups that are, gathering, and whether it's the nurses or physicians, and through Canada Health Alliance, the Freedom Fighters, you name them, Action for Canada, everybody is working at it. It would be great to combine all of these wonderful people, because when everybody tries to reinvent the wheel, we are losing momentum. We are losing time. And that is part of why we have created the foundation, so that everybody can join and communicate in a safe manner within the private membership organization. So what we really need to realize is this, as long as we do not step it up, is going to roll over everybody's heads. And that's the biggest fear of people, is what can they do when they are challenged with their health. I'm very healthy. However, I know thousands of people that are not, and that are scared that if they turn their back to the system, who would be there to care for them? But then here is in emergency cases, for example, when you drop, you know, right in front of the feet of Tina, she knows what to do. When you drop right in front of my feet, I know what to do. And we are permitted, because we took our courses, to help. Because that is the one part that is exempt in Bill 36. We are permitted to give an emergency assistance and help. So that is an important.
And I think that as well, I mean, ABCB first aid, you are doing the courses and you're doing a lot of training within community, as I understand it, right? So, you know, at the end of the day, I'm a big believer in training. I do feel that, and this is again personal, as opposed to, even though I'm talking on the radio, CHLY has no affiliation one way or the other. And I, you know, this is not about CHLY in this regard. So I want to make that very clear. We all have our individual opinions, and it's very, very important that we respect each other in that way. But what I do know is that education, in my opinion, is arguably the most important thing you can have, right? If you have had some formal training when it comes to first aid, when you've had some formal training when it comes to anything, it only serves to grow and to make sure that that knowledge becomes the power that it's supposed to be, right? To be able to support people where they're at. This event that you're having on December 10th, it sounds like you've got a real array of opportunity for people to get educated. Very important in that way. Is there a fee to get into the event itself, or is it free for participants to join? Or tell us a little bit more about how people can get tickets if tickets are required.
No tickets are required. Come, and we have a pay what you want. And that could be nothing if you want. Pay what you want. If you want to pay something, great. Otherwise, just come. Come in the door, meet these people. And, you know, we talk about, it's Christmas season, like buy some wonderful books, buy some great crochet. There's art, there's gonna be clothing and so on there, but also consider buying health for someone. Consider buying a session with a chiropractor or with Eike and her entire group of people. So consider, or hypnotherapy, all of those things. Like, you know, it's wonderful. We can buy lots of things, but probably the most valuable thing is our health. That's the only thing we really have. So if we can consider the gift of health, then I think that is probably one of the best Christmas gifts and holiday gifts that you can give anyone.
Absolutely. I think there's a lot of people that have stuff right now, and I think people are moving away from the stuff factor, especially this year. A lot of people are a little bit tighter in their pocketbooks because of the last few years. Things are a little harder for everybody. But certainly when you're giving the gift of health, that can be a very simple thing, just a great book to read over the holidays. I always believe at Christmas time, you should have a pair of pajamas, should always have a good book, have a good meal. For kids, have a toy. So those are the main things: something to read, something to eat, something to play with, right? That's Christmas in my world. So, you know, having a book like, you know, some of the healthy authors that will be attending and doing some discussions about their work. Can you tell us a little bit about some of those authors? Are they familiar, like people you work with every day, or?
Could I just remark as well that I made the decision at the beginning of the year, because I saw the inflation coming. I have not raised any product price, and I have even people driving all the way from Qualicum here to get products, because even with the gas prices, it is still cheaper than when they buy it somewhere else. And so I just got notified that the companies are raising for the fourth time by January 1st all their prices, and I decided to make some beautiful gift baskets and wraps with the products that we have, and you can get them there for the old prices that were before anything got raised at the beginning of the year. So they will be themed to whatever people might need or feel aches for, or, you know, for the digestive
hold on a sec. So you've got baskets for sale. So when you talked about products, so now we're moving not only from services into some tangible gifty things. So tell me a little bit about what's in those baskets.
In those baskets, like companies that I love to work with is, for example, Metagenics and Pasco and Veleda, and those are really, really high quality companies. And I have prepared baskets and bags and beautifully decorated already and themed, whether you want to support your brain health, your heart health, if you have diabetes, if you have joint aches and pains, or if you want something for your skin, and if you have acne, or for everything a little bit. Some are a little bigger, some are smaller, so that you can pick and choose whatever you want to gift yourself or for somebody else that you care about.
So there are things like the naturopathic medicines, creams, shampoos, lotions, that kind of thing.
And homeopathics and everything to, you know, support your well-being.
That's wonderful. Wonderful. Well, it sounds to me like this event is going to be really something that everybody can sort of take a look at what their needs are, their family health is, and bring people to the event. You said that there's 3 floors. Do you have all 3 floors full of vendors?
We have the top floor, the 3rd floor is I think pretty full of vendors and a few practitioners. The 2nd floor is 2 seminar spaces where there will be dueling talks, if you will. I have some people saying, I can't pick all, I want to see them all.
That's usually how it goes when there's a good term like that.
You have
sure.
the choice now.
Yeah.
And then we also have a kitchen area where we're going to have a bit of a lounge where people can come and have some minestrone soup and some good food while they're there as well. And then, like I said, downstairs gallery, booksellers, and practitioners. So we're really excited to fill this whole space. This has been a vision of mine for a while, and I'm just really excited. And I can't say enough. It's not just us doing this work. We have some wonderful people helping us out as well. Our wonderful friend Maria is really her idea pushing us along, and her saying, we just need to do Maria. This. Yes, thank you, Maria. And Justina, one of our wonderful artists as well, is really helping out with it also. But so many incredible people that are joining us. And you asked me about authors, and a lot of these authors I couldn't really speak about. I'm only just becoming familiar with them myself, but I'm very, very excited to have them join us.
So we have, for example, Dr. Bill Code talking about his brain puzzle and many other books that he has authored that are super valuable, and he is phenomenal. I myself and Detlef, we have co-authored 2 books with Dr. Joe Dispenza, Dr. Bruce Lipton, that are #1 Amazon bestsellers, and we can certainly speak towards that as well. So that's at least what I know already.
Well, so that's just a few, and it sounds like there's lots and lots and lots to see. Okay, so we've given out the website for finding out about the foundation, right? But let's give where this event is location. So can you give the address again, when it's going to be, what time does it start, where is it, how is it, all the good stuff?
You bet. I have again, this is just something we threw together, but I have a Facebook page called LIVE324, and that's convenient because we're at 324 Terminal Avenue, right downtown, right underneath the Bastion Street Bridge. So it's on Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And we're just 2 doors down from the Bastion Street Parkade. So there's lots and lots of room to park. And I would really encourage people, if they come and join us and spend the day with us, but if not, especially if it's busy and crowded like I expect it's going to be, also go enjoy the downtown. We have so many great things around the downtown. We want to celebrate all the people that are downtown as well. So 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. is what our goal is, and we have seminars right out the gate. So it's going to be an action-packed day. Like I said, we're going to have yoga and dance as well. We're going to have breath work, also a seminar on conscious breath work. Authors, one of the authors is reading a book called Jonah and the Mountain, which is a metaphysical love story. So some really extraordinary people that are coming to join us. And we're going to have a clothing truck right outside. So inside our building, we also have stuff outside the building in our parking area as well. And so I'm just really excited about it coming together. We just put this idea out there, and then people just started coming. So it's
that's
just growing.
That's usually how it goes when you're hungry for service and you're hungry for learning. When you open the doors, it goes back to that old movie, if you build it, they will come. So I imagine that a lot of people will be coming to 324 Terminal on Saturday, December the 10th, to enjoy this incredible event. And it's called Live. Is that the name of the event?
I have fun with the name. I'm calling it, it's just all capitals, LIVE, live, but I also want it to be live because we have live events. So depending on what's going on today, it's live. We might be learning how to live in a healthful manner, or we might be having a storytelling event live. So I love the name Live
I
Live
think
at
I
324.
think that the name is extraordinary, and I see it in so many applications. So, kudos to you both for putting this all together. I'm going to come back to our conversation in just a second. I'd like to just do a very brief, another brief station identification. Thank you if you have just tuned in. We love it when you do. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You are listening to Act 3 on CHLY 101.7. I'm Kathy Holmes. I'm delighted to be your guest, or your host, I mean. My guests in the Zoom booth today are Tina Hein. She is with ABCB First Aid, First Responders, and her colleague Eike Jordan is with Naturally Healthy Clinic and Naturally Healthy Foundation. Both of the two of them together. You could hear my words kind of going blah, 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 which is not unusual for me if people are listening. I'm always hoping that they get at least one giggle, even if it's me falling over my tongue, right? It's one of those things. So super delighted that you're here. Thank you very much. Just a reminder once again that every Monday at 1 o'clock, you can listen to Act 3 on CHLY 101.7. Every Wednesday, you can also listen to Wellness Wednesdays with Teresa Osman. And on Thursdays, you can find out about your money with the Money Show at 11 o'clock on Thursday mornings as well. Dale Harvey does that. So listen, there's so much to listen to on CHLY 101.7, and I'm going to plug it one more time. I'm going to ask you one more time if you would be so kind to this year in 2023, beginning 2023, if you would be so kind to think about giving us $5 a month. We are in the middle of our drive right now. We're about halfway through the drive. Every dollar that you bring into CHLY will help keep this programming going. But not only just Act 3, also every summer we get the kids to come in. They learn about radio broadcasting. They learn about media production. And we've got an incredible team here that does a lot of work to make sure that our community knows what's going on. So once again, we invite you to make sure that you listen to CHLY 101.7 throughout your day. Tina and Eike, there's so much to talk about when it comes to our health and wellness. I'm curious, sort of taking you away from your companies for a moment and your plans with December the 10th. What got you guys involved in this work to begin with? Was there an aha moment for you that started you along the path of live and along the path of healthy, naturally healthy clinic as a whole? Something must have sort of gave you that brilliance to make you want to move ahead with it. What was it?
Well, for myself and ABCB, for our first aid training school, my husband used to work for the government and for the Department of National Defense. And when it was time for him to leave, he was so fortunate to be able to find this wonderful business that's been around in Nanaimo for 40 years now. And the wonderful Ed Peterson, who's run ABCB First Aid and Safety Training for 35 years, he was looking to pass the business on. So this was a perfect transition for us to go from working for the Department of National Defense to work with the public, teaching people how to save lives. So going to ABCB First Aid.ca and checking out those courses, first responder, even wonderful standard first aid. We even have kids classes and so on as well. Those things are really, really important. But for myself, it was my own personal health journey. And I think that's true for a lot of people. What brings us to our own health? It's being frustrated with not being able to figure out what is happening in my body that is causing me distress. And so that has taken me through this area, learning about trauma, figuring out my own things that are holding me back, and bringing awareness to those things and removing and releasing trauma from the body. So finding people like Eike, who knows how to help us with that, learning about people like Gabor Mate and so on, learning about different ideas. We grow up with this idea that we're supposed to get together and make some children and send them off into daycare and school and never really see them again. that didn't really sit well for me as a biologist and an animal behaviorist and so on. So I wanted to really look into holistic systems and what actually creates good health, and really learning about all of us, getting our needs met, art, like we said, reading all this kind of information, and also just being curious about everything, I think, is one of the best bits of medicine also as well. So just being curious about my own health and looking at other modalities. Growing up only really learning about conventional medicine, it was fascinating to me when I had a couple of serious health crises to be able to find something like traditional Chinese medicine that actually fixed me pretty quickly. So that sparked a passion for me. So combining just my passion for humans and animals, of course, as well as health and so on, combined with saving people's lives and helping people to save each other's lives, is really important. And then you add someone like Eike and all of these extraordinary people in the community, and you just create betterment in general. So I'm just thrilled that that we're able to come together.
Well, and I resonate with what you're saying. I think it's very, very true that we come, with a lot of baggage if we have health issues or health concerns. And Gabor Mate always says, when there's trauma, it's not about how people get to the place that they're at, but what trauma brought them there in the first place. And so I just feel that is that resonates so much, I think, for our community, for everyone, right? The good news about this program is that in case you guys don't know, we go all the way from Duncan to Campbell River. Just by the time you get into Courtenay Campbell River, we start to fade out a little bit, and right across to the Sunshine Coast. So we know that there is a large body of people that listen to our programs. And in particular, we also know that there's a large body of health providers that are island minded as well. And I feel that there's something that is really wonderful about the way that we share this information with each other, particularly as it relates to natural health. And we all have to take part in writing the future of our bodies, right? We need to be really prepared to ask ourselves some difficult questions. I've always believed in the chiropractic stuff and, all of that, and I've experienced it. I very often have said that I would give up my GP for my chiropractor any day of the week because they've just solved so many issues, right? Some people are afraid of that, though. So I'm curious, Eike, on your part, when you have someone who's a bit trepidatious about trying these new modalities for them, they're ancient, they've been around for hundreds of years, but they're new modalities to someone who is looking at their healthcare in a different way. How do you help regulate that fear to get them to brave it up and give it a go?
But first of all, what we're doing has no side effects. And it doesn't require to immediately stop taking a medication or change everything rapidly.
Yes.
And it can be done very gentle, and you can simply feel how much better you get, and then make your own decision on, hey, you know what? I feel that good that I want to cut back on what I did in the past.
Yes.
Because what I did in the past didn't lead me to resolve the issue.
So true.
I'm not saying that I can cure everything, but I'm saying that every one of us can cure ourselves. And I can be there to guide and to help with knowledge and to open some doors. Like, for example, homeopathy is not curative, but it opens doors so that the healing can happen. And it's our decision to go through those doors, right?
Well, and I mean, I encourage people to give a homeopathy a chance too. I mean, I remember several years ago, I was just talking about this with my daughter-in-law last night. So it's interesting to me that this is coming up, this conversation about our health. She's just starting on this healthcare journey of looking at her body in a different way, not with traditional medicine, but she's starting to explore new ways for her health. And I'm just so proud of her for doing that, because you want to try different things, and certainly under the guidance of professionals is the way to go, right? But one of the things that she was saying to me that she was afraid of was the chiropractor, and she was afraid of acupuncture. But I think what helped her is that there are so many people now that have seen such incredible results from it. That the pain is gone. So it works.
What I can share with you is that I myself had a complete kidney failure when I was at the tender age of 7. And normal allopathic medicine for 1 year got me only to the degree where they said either a kidney transplant or she's gonna die. And then my
Wow.
parents panicked and said, okay, let's see somebody that is kind of like a witch doctor, which was back then well-renowned Dr. Brooker, who owns an entire hospital, but he practices as well naturopathy and homeopathy. And he changed my nutrition. He changed me away from all these medications that I was on. And within 2 weeks of time, my kidneys started to work again, and they still work today. And I have changed so many lives of people that simply didn't want to die, where I sometimes call it, I get all the garbage cases that went through the entire system and couldn't find any more help. I have here a little reference that I got actually from a patient in distance. She lives in Florida, and she just sent the other day for Detlef and I a beautiful review. Do you want me to read it out?
I'd love it. Go for it.
Okay. Dear Detlef and Eike, I was referred to Detlef about 3.5 years ago and met short after Eike online. There is nowadays, in many cases, no need to see therapists or even a physician in person. I lived in New York City, and Detlef and Eike are located in Canada's West Coast. Detlef impressed me right away when I saw how he was able to communicate with my son, even though he was no longer responsive. Her son had brain cancer and was basically completely gone. Detlef was asked him questions and my son would actually answer. My son lost a lot of blood and Detlef had a hypnosis session focusing on this issue. Next morning, I went with my son to the hospital for an infusion that could only be done if the blood count was high enough, and it was. There was another time that my son's blood pressure was extremely low. One session with Detlef, who did the trick. I'm sad and extremely sorry I did not meet Detlef and Eike a few months earlier. Otherwise, I know that my son would have had a chance to survive. My son passed away and I asked Detlef how I could get signs from my son. His explanation opened my horizon. And since I'm getting everyday signs from my beloved son. Soon after my son passed away, my blood pressure, which was always high, went through the roof. I had been taking pills every day for 8 years, and every year I had to increase the dosage. Eike helped me to get my blood pressure to 120/80 within a few months. Since then, I stopped taking my every kind of medication. Today, my first thought when I have any kind of disease is to contact Eike. She is what I would call my primary care physician. I'm aware that many people still believe that regular medicine is superior to homeopathy. After seeing what regular medicine did to my son, the side effects, the suffering that physicians have caused him, I'm cured of this kind of medicine. Eike and Detlef have been there with their advice and help. When I think of them, I feel like hugging them. I hope one day they will come to Florida to visit me. I wish I could open a gateway and find healing and rejuvenation. Oh, a getaway to find healing and rejuvenation of body and mind. So this is in distance, all of it. We work internationally. And is there anything to fear? Absolutely not. All you can find is actually happiness and health and well-being. So
yeah, it sounds to me like it's an absolute win-win. And I know it is as well. And I think that our listeners, many of our listeners understand that as well. There is some real wonderful practitioners in our communities, and they are, including yourself, take the time, find out, learn, make the decision upon knowledge and not out of fear, and just see where it takes you. Fantastic, ladies. It's been a really awesome conversation. We're nearing the end of the program already, but we're not over yet. We have a few more minutes. So before we do anything else, I think it's really important that we both share our informations again. So I suggest for December the 10th, Tina, if you would like to share the date, the place, all of that groovy stuff again, and then as well, I'll get you to get your information out there also. Tina.
Sounds great. So if you want to check out our event, again, it's just this small gathering of amazing people. But Facebook LIVE324 is where you will find the event there. And it's at building downtown, 324 terminal. Again, parking will be on at the Bastion Street Parkade. It's even free on the weekend. So come on in and enjoy a comfortable space. If you want to learn more about some of the training that we offer, the pragmatic, practical, hands-on training that we offer to help you learn how to save lives, then please check out some of our courses at ABCB firstaid.ca. So you can learn how to do just simple CPR class all the way up to first responders and level 3 first aid attendants and so on. So these are going to be a lot of the people who are going to be here and available. Our system is struggling right now. And sometimes call outs from paramedics take a long time to get there. So if you have some basic skills, not only will you feel comfortable in yourself and your abilities and very likely help change someone's life for the better, then you can come and take courses with us. We're even going to be offering some fun cafes where you can come and practice your skills, because even people who are working in the field, of course, they're to be WorkSafe compliant, they have to be doing it regularly. So we want to have some fun events where people can come and practice their skills, maybe learn how to make cheese and stuff like that as well. So you can combine it together and make it a fun evening together, whether it's businesses coming together and having like a Pro D kind of event, or even just a bunch of people getting out together to have a fun social event. Maybe there'll be art there as well, and maybe there'll be storytelling and so on. So we have lots that we want to plan for LIVE324. This is just one of the first events. So thank you.
Oh, well, it's such a pleasure. And I know that so many people are going to attend. It sounds like it's going to be one heck of an event. And frankly, I will do my best to attend. I guarantee you, if I can be there, I will be. I know that I am traveling that weekend, so I'm not sure if I will be there, but I am there in spirit for certain. Eike, could you share your information with us as well, please?
Yes, here at Naturally Healthy Clinic, we are a wonderful team of practitioners, and we will support all of your health and well-being to the best of our knowledge and abilities. We are located at 210 Milton Street in the Old City Quarter in Nanaimo, and lots of us are as well flexible and can even go and help in-home if need be, if somebody cannot travel, or we can work via internet in distance. You can find information and our contact at www.naturallyhealthyclinic.ca, or you can call us 250-755-4051, and we will be right there for you.
And find the practitioner who resonates with you, literally resonates. We're going to have sound healing and so on as well. So, there's going to be something for everyone. And we just really encourage everyone to really get together and be face-to-face with each other.
And be comfortable asking the questions. There's some difficult questions that need to be asked, and certainly figuring out more about, Bill 36 to make sure that you are understanding what's going on there, and just connecting and being together at this time of year, and gifting the gift of health to those that you love. We're at the part of my program where I love to give the community that kernel of wisdom. And there's been both of you have said so many wonderful things today that I have personally resonated. I know that our community of listeners has resonated with it. If you were to give each one of you, if you had a takeaway regarding this practice that you have made so much a part of your everyday business of living and that you gift to community, what might that look like for you, Tina?
Oh, wow. I don't even know. That's such a big question. But what I do want is for people to see each other. Yes. I think that's what I want us to see each other. I want us to be face to face. I want us to breathe together. I want us to be able to share in art and to read together and tell stories and learn practices like making kombucha or crocheting or needle felting or darning socks, fixing socks, all of the things. I want us to have community again. I want us to have community.
Yeah, there's something to be said for having community. You're absolutely right. I couldn't agree with you more. And Eike, what are your thoughts about that?
What is at our heart is that we all connect, as Tina said so beautifully, connect back at the heart and bring back the innate ability and knowledge that we all can be in charge without fear, without anxiety, that we don't have to feel depression. This can be changed like that.
Quickly, you betcha. And I agree with you there too. It is a mindset. We can change our mindset and change the way that we see ourselves with the help of a professional to come and support you, whether it's a homeopathic professional, a massage therapist, a speech therapist, anyone in the health services that can support your well-being. It's very important that you learn about it and connect with it. I do want to share something about homeopathy that I think, might resonate with someone. It might not, I don't know. But This goes back several years ago, long before COVID, long before, you know, anything was happening. I had a very serious infection in my cheek, a nasal infection. And the doctors put me on horse pills for antibiotics that also just played a heck of a huge role in, you know, in creating yeast issues and other things that happen when you're on large doses of antibiotics. And these pills were like $100 a pop. They weren't covered on BC Medical. They were very expensive. And my face, I got to a point where my face became so swollen on the right cheek. It was painful to speak. It was painful to close my teeth. The inflammation was massive. So my girlfriend introduced me to homeopathy. And at first I was like, that's a bunch of hokiness, right? Like, I don't buy it, right? I was just very dismissive. So I went to a homeopathic professional, and she introduced me to spider venom in homeopathic tablets. 24 hours later, the swelling was 50% less. 48 hours later, I could breathe. It was the first time I was able to breathe in 8 months on the right side of my face. Multiple forms of medicine, multiple things that nobody could help it, but the homeopathic professional doctor did. And I am very grateful to the practice. It's what opened my eyes. So I'm inviting community, if you have never experienced the brilliance of alternative medication, do your due diligence, get to know the practitioners, understand, trust your friends, you know, give something a go. You'd be so surprised at how healthy you feel in doing so.
Thank you for sharing. I've had it, I don't know how many thousands of times, where patients come in with what we call a local issue. Like, this is a local issue. It's not like deep ingrained from the past.
Absolutely.
And literally within minutes, you can see already changes. It's very rewarding.
It is a rewarding, and it's a rewarding way to feel too. When you feel really crappy for a really long time, there's something quite wonderful about seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, especially in this last few years. It has been a delight to have you both here. Thank you so much. Everybody, come on down on the 10th of December, 324 Terminal Avenue, and live at 324, 10 to 6, live. Not live, 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 whatever, however, which one you want to read it. 10 to 6, it's going to be participating with so many people that can teach you so much brilliance. Do yourself a favor, gift yourself that knowledge. Go to the event December the 10th. My guests today have been Tina Hein, and she is with ABCB First Aid Responders, and Eike Jordan from Natural Healthy Clinic. If you are listening to us on YouTube, all of that stuff will be in the chat box. In the meantime, if you want more information, don't hesitate to reach out. We're always delighted when you do. Thanks so much, everybody. Thank you, my guests, for being here today. Happy holidays to you both. Good luck on your event. I pray it is going to be phenomenal. I know it will be. And meanwhile, that does it for this episode of Act 3. See you next week, you guys. Have yourself a really wonderful week. Make sure if you are driving in the snow, you're extra careful. And when you are out in the world, take a breath, look around you. This is the time of gratitude. Have yourself a marvelous day. Bye for now.
Thank you.